I'd say that my journey on the streets started out with me having a rough relationship with my parents growing up, and then eventually around 17 years old, it got to a turning point where they just decided to kick me out. So I was sleeping in my car for a few months. There was definitely nights where it's like, I didn't know what I was doing, I didn't know where I was going, and I just felt like shit, you know? It wasn't a good feeling. One night, it was like 16 degrees out and it was bucketing snow, and I mean, I could feel the chill to my bone. And I found a parking structure at a hospital, and I was sleeping in there. And then the security guard pulled up on me and told me unless I want to pay for a hospital bed that I have to leave hospital grounds, and that if I'm worried about my health that I ought to walk into the hospital and pay for a hospital bed. And that was when I realized pretty much my only option for safe shelter felt like I could go to a youth shelter or any kind of homeless shelter at that point. When I first did walk into the homeless shelter, it was definitely kind of a strange feeling. I had been sleeping in my car long enough that I'd more or less come to the terms that I was a homeless person. I wasn't super jarred over that. I had the mindset that I was just here to be safe and get the things I needed to get while I was at this point in my life. I figured everyone else was there for their own reasons and I ought to not worry about them, they ought to not worry about me. That survival mode you go into is definitely real, you know, you're just focused on the day-to-day. I was hanging outside with some of my friends outside of one of the homeless shelters I was staying at. It happened to be located downtown. And that was when Mark and Alex and one of the street kids they were hanging out with came around, and they were just talking to everyone about Dry Bones, asking them if they'd heard about it. And at one point they came up to me, asked me if I knew about Dry Bones. I told them no and asked them what it was. And they told me it's a community. It's a place where you can show up and just hang out with other people who recognize your experience. And you know, it's about just come here and be among people who will treat you like human beings. And that sounded like something that was very desirable at that point in my life. One thing that was really reassuring to me when I first walked in there is all the people who'd never seen me before were incredibly friendly and nice, you know, all extremely sweet to me. And then another big thing was it was the first time I'd been fed some homemade food that tasted really good, and that means a lot to me too. One of the really good memories I had from the first few times I went to Dry Bones is, you know, they always have all the nice ladies who come in and make all of the amazing food. I remember I've always been such a big fan of cookies, and one of the ladies there noticed I had grabbed quite a few, and she asked me what my absolute favorite was, and I told her just classic chocolate chunk cookies. And so the next time she came in, she brought chocolate chunk cookies, and they were some of the best I'd ever had in my life. It made me feel cared for, you know, it made me feel like, you know, someone saw me more as just a homeless person. You know, they recognized I was a real person with, you know, real feelings and real things going on. I would say, you know, I always wanted to get out of being homeless, obviously. What Dry Bones really did for me is it helped, you know, put me in the mental space where I felt like I could do the things I needed to do. You know, Dry Bones did a lot for me in helping to remind me that, you know, I'm worth it, that I'm worthy, that I still have people that believe in me and that will tell me that I can do it, you know. I had been a part of the Dry Bones community for about 1.5 years or so before I learned about their job readiness program. I had jobs in that time, but I had a lot of trouble keeping them due to various reasons, just because of my mental health and all of that. I was having a hard time just being a good employee in general. So I remember one day I was talking to someone at Dry Bones about my struggles with having to keep a job. And they told me about the job readiness program that Dry Bones offers. And they essentially pitched it to me as it's an environment where all of those things that you're struggling with, that you're having a hard time keeping your job, they'll help you with that and they'll understand that and they'll give you room and space to grow. And so they had helped me fill out the application that afternoon. And it wasn't too much longer until I went in an interview with them and started with my internship at the job readiness program. It was always great knowing that the people I worked with understood where I was and understood that I wanted to work hard and I wanted to be a good worker, but there's certain barriers in my life that made that difficult for me on certain senses and on certain days. And it was just always good to know that I worked with people who understood me and who were willing to work with me. Tammy and the other directors of it started talking to me about what do I want to do once I'm done with the Dry Bones program? What's the step after? And I told them, I want a career. I don't want just another job. I want somewhere where I can work and I can invest my time and grow myself. And they asked me about the various things I was interested in, and we eventually figured out that working at an auto shop might be something I'd be really good for. We discovered that one of the gentlemen at Dry Bones had a connection to a car dealership, and he asked me if I would be interested in maybe having a job there. I told him that I thought that would be amazing. So Dry Bones helped me with putting together my resume. They helped me with figuring out, you know, training for a job interview and all of the possible things that I felt like I needed in order to be ready for this job interview. And after helping me set all those things up on the day of, they took me to the job interview and I felt like I nailed it and I got the job. And, you know, I'm not done with Dry Bones. This isn't the end. This is just a new chapter, this new job that I have. This is more growth that I can have. And it's also wonderful knowing that even though I'm graduated from the program, I still talk with the people at Dry Bones, they still talk with me, and I can still always lean on them and depend on them for support, when I ask for it, and they're always willing to help me however which way they can. The overall feelings that I have towards Dry Bones is I'm just so happy that it's there. And I just hope that in the future that they're only able to expand more and give more people more opportunities to find out, what is your passion? What do you want to do with your life? And how can we help you in any ways we can in order to make that a possibility? They helped make my dreams real. They helped me stop being from homeless, and how can we get you to where you need to be, where you can live your life, your real life, how you want it to be. And I just hope that they can only ever expand in every way possible to provide that for as many people as possible.